Welcome students to the third lecture of complex analysis with course code MAT18R 4026, Block 1, Unit 121 from the Department of Mathematics, Kalasilingam Academy of Research and Education. In this lecture, I will be describing two major topics. One is conformal mapping and another one is linear transformation. So let's start with conformal. An analytic function is conformal at any point where it has a non-zero derivative. Conversely, any conformal mapping is of a complex variable which has continuous partial derivative is analytic. Conformal mapping is extremely important in complex analysis as well as in many areas of physics and engineering. That will be seen later, some examples. Conformal map in mathematics, a transformation of one graph into another in such a way that the angle of intersection of any two lines or curves remain unchanged. So the angle between any two curves preserved in this conformal mapping, or the other way around. Suppose the angle between any two curves, suppose there is a conformal mapping, then it must preserve the angle between any two curves from one plane to another plane. The most common example is that market map, a two-dimensional representation of surface of Earth that preserves compass direction. Conformal mapping can be used in scattering and diffraction problems. For scattering and diffraction problems of plane electromagnetic waves, the mathematical problem involves finding a solution to scalar wave function which satisfy both boundary condition and radiation condition at infinity. So as a whole, this is the definition. It has to be an analytic function with non-zero derivative. Then this function can be conferred as conformal mapping, and it must preserve the angle between any two curves while transforming from one plane to another complex plane. The next topic is linear transformation. As we all know, vector space. Suppose we have two vector spaces, V and W, and we consider a mapping capital T from V to W. Obviously, we know V is the domain of T and W is the codomain of T. Pictorially, we can see that here from this V domain, this T mapping, basically mapping each element of T, it brings into some element of W. Now, the whole W is known as codomain, and the images of the elements from V, this may be a subset of codomain. This is basically a subset of codomain. This is maybe full of W, or it may be a proper subset of W. In any case, this image set TW, T of V, T of V is known as the range of the linear transformation. As we can see here, this inner circle represents the range, and this outer circle, the whole vector space W is the codomain, and this inner circle is the range for this transformation. Now, this T will be said that the T will be called a linear transformation if it satisfies these two conditions. Number one is T of U plus V equal to TU plus TV whenever UV in capital V, and number two is T of CU equal to C into TU for all C belongs to R. Here R is the underlying field for this vector space. And one thing we must note that whenever we are defining a linear transformation, the underlying field of both the spaces For example, here V and W, domain and codomain must be same. So this is the field I have taken is as the real field. So these two are basically real vector space over the field capital R, and this C is the scalar taken from this field, and number 2 condition and number 1 condition. As you can see, these two must satisfy together, then only we can say that T is a linear transformation. So there are certain things to just I have said previous slide. I have also written it over here. I'm just saying it. If V is in V and W is in W and T of V equal to W, then W is called the image of the element V under the mapping or under the linear transformation capital T. And this is the definition of the range set. Range of capital T is nothing but all the images, set of all the images of the element of V. In short, we are denoting it as T of V, such that for all V belongs to V. This is nothing but images of all the elements of the domain set. And then we define the pre-image of W. So this is nothing but a set of all V from the domain space capital V, which maps or whose images, whose image is W, T of V equal to W. There may be more than one element from your domain space, say V1 and V2, such that T of V1 equal to W, also T of V2 equal to W. Then the P image of W will be both V1 and V2. So this is ultimately a set. This may not be a particular point or particular element. The pre-image of W is basically a set of all points from your domain set whose image is W. Next, there are certain nodes which is very important for our understanding. So first condition of the linear transformation, what it reads as T of U plus V equal to T of U plus T of V. So there are two additions we can see here. One is here U plus V. So this addition is on your domain space capital V. So this addition confers the addition operation in the domain space. However, T of U is an element of the codomain or range set, and T of V also belongs to codomain W. So this addition, T of U plus T of V, this addition basically confers addition in the domain space. So these two are two different addition, though they are written with same symbols. Another one is T of C into U. So this C into U, as I told, that the underlying field of these two spaces U and V both has to be same, and we have considered it as to be real number field. This C from comes from real number, and this C into U, this is the scalar multiplication in the defined in V, and again C into T of U. Since this T of U lies in W, therefore this multiplication, this scalar multiplication, is defined in your codomain space W. Number 2, a linear transformation T from V to V. Suppose your domain and codomain set both are equal, from a vector space into itself is called a linear operator. So I have placed some example here of linear transformation. The number 1 example is here T of V1 comma V2 equal to V1 minus V2 comma V1 plus 2 into V2. So as we can see that your domain is R2 and codomain is also R2. Now to verify whether this mapping is a linear transformation or not, we need to verify the two conditions. So number 1 condition is this. So from here we start. Suppose U equal to U1 comma U2 and V equal to V1 comma V2. These are the two elements of the vector space R2, and C be any real number. then the vector addition u plus v, as we all know, defined as this u1 plus v1 comma v2 u2 plus v2. And if we step by step follow the definition of t from the given problem, we can definitely see that the line by line explanation is written over here. And ultimately this gives t of u plus v gives tu plus tv. So the first condition is satisfied. Now we are in a position to verify whether the second condition also satisfies or not. So in order to do that, again, c is a real number and u is taken as u1 comma u2. So c into u1 comma u2 ultimately gives us cu comma cu2. So this is the scalar multiplication defined in the domain set. Now we have to find out t of cu. So that is t of c of u1 comma c into u2. From the definition of t, we can write this is equal to cu1 minus c into u2 comma cu1 plus 2c u2. Now if we take this scalar c outside, then we will finally get c into u1 minus u2 comma u1 plus 2 into u2. So ultimately this gives c into t of u. Here also this scalar multiplication is defined on your codomain set. Though we have domain and codomain same here, but in case if you have two different domain and codomain, these two need to be considered and need to be noted whenever you do these scalar multiplications. So since our mapping T satisfies both the conditions, T must be a linear transformation in this case. Now we consider some other functions. Suppose f of x equal to sine of x. Now it is very known to us that sine of x1 plus x2 is not equal to sine of x1 comma sine of x1 plus sine of x2. Some example also I have given here for your reference, like sine of pi by 2 plus sine of pi by 3 is not equal to sine of pi by 2 plus sine of pi by 3. So clearly in this case f of x equal to sine x is not a linear transformation, since it doesn't satisfy the conditions. The first condition also not satisfied. Okay, though you can check the last the other condition, that is f of c into x equal to c into fx. This is also will not hold for f of x equal to sine x, since we have to check whether f of x is linear or not. In order to do that, if any one of the condition doesn't satisfy, means the function or the mapping will not be a linear transformation. Again, the second example, f of x equal to x square. So this is x is real number only. So we know that x1 plus x2 whole square is not equal to x1 square plus x2 square. So there is also example 1 plus 2 whole square, that is equal to 9, and 1 square plus 2 square, that is equal to 5. So 9 not equal to 5. So again, f of x is not linear in this case. Another one I would like to say, the linear terms comes from the fact that power of x here. Since look, the power of x is here 2, it's not linear. So therefore the terminology linear justified over here. So similarly from the second problem, third problem, sorry, f of x is equal to x plus 1, but we can note here that power of x is 1. So we can predict that this will be a linear transformation, though there is not a hard and fast rule. But whenever you see that powers of x is more than 1, there is no question of being linear for that function. And when you have power of x to the equal to 1, so there is a chance that this function may be a linear one, but it may not be all the time. We have to verify both the conditions. This example also doesn't hold the condition number 1, as we can see directly from the calculations. So apart, though it is a linear, linear in power of x, then also it is not a linear transformation. this is a very important note over here. So you might have your function to the power of 1 for x. Okay, so x might be linear in your given function, but this doesn't necessarily imply that it will be a linear transformation. A very good example to be noted. Okay, as I discussed, notes to use the term linear, how it is justified. It's also written over here. F of x equal to x plus 1 is called a linear function because its graph is a line. But f of x equal to x plus 1, it's not a linear transformation. So you can call f of x equal to x plus 1 a linear function. No harm in that, since the power of x equal to 1 over here. But it doesn't satisfy the condition of linear transformation. So it cannot be a linear transformation from the vector space R to R. So with this note, I would like to stop in today's lecture. Students, we will see again in the next lecture series. Thank you.